Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a place known for its legendary salmon runs, stunning mountains.
Yeah, way up there.
Totally. A vast, kind of independent corner of America where people actually call the rest of the U.S. the lower 48.
Right, that famous phrase.
And picture that place, that unique, self-reliant spot becoming the unexpected stage for one of the most talked about political meetings of the year.
Mm,
So today we're taking a deep dive into the recent Trump-Putin summit, but specifically how it played out, on the ground in Anchorage, Alaska.
yeah.
Our sources don't just tell a story, they really immerse us in this um, captivating picture of local anticipation, maybe a touch of trepidation, and this really unique mix of like practicality and wry humor.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is how that local experience in Anchorage works almost like a microcosm.
Okay.
It lets us understand in a really tangible way the complex, sometimes surprising interplay between
Yeah.
these huge global events and, well, the everyday lives of a community.
Right.
So our mission today is to pull out the critical insights from these sources, revealing what this specific local experience tells us about the bigger dynamics of global politics, and crucially, about community identity when faced with all this.
Okay, so let's start by grounding ourselves in Anchorage itself because its character is just so central to this story, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Imagine arriving in a city that kind of defies expectations. Geographically, I mean, it sits farther north than Oslo, even St. Petersburg.
Wow, yeah.
Population just under 300,000. The downtown is sort of low-slung, resting on these vast mud flats above the Cook Inlet, right at the base of the Chugach Mountains. Majestic.
Hmm.
You see wide streets, strip malls, birch trees, and then downtown shops selling Alaska native handicrafts and, naturally, lots of bear and moose souvenirs.
Standard Alaska fare.
Exactly. But it's more than just the look of the place, isn't it? The residents have this really palpable, distinct character.
The independence.
Yeah, they describe themselves as having an independent streak, and they famously call the contiguous U.S. the lower 48. Right.
Like Colleen Heaney-Mead, who runs a daycare there, she put it perfectly. We don't want to be part of whatever's happening there. We don't have to do everything they do.
And what's really striking is how these huge global political moments just sort of intrude upon or even reshape the most personal parts of community life. Their summer plans, their traditions.
Yeah, that part was amazing.
For the locals, there was this really clear, almost amusing sentiment. While, many residents, like retired state senator Hollis French, were kind of excited about Anchorage being back on the map.
Right, the spotlight.
There was also this very strong, very Alaskan desire for the summit not to, quote, ruin their late summer plans.
Because it's prime time.
Exactly. Peak salmon run, peak berry season. I mean, Andy Motter, he works at a conservation nonprofit. He just wanted to take his boat out on Prince William Sound.
Fair enough.
And Jeff Landfield from the Alaska Landmine News site, he noticed people were genuinely hoping their hunting, fishing, camping, four-wheeling plans wouldn't get messed up by all the fuss. It really highlights how that local view just grounds everything, even high-stakes diplomacy and everyday stuff.
Absolutely. It brings it right down to earth.
Reading about that just makes you chuckle, doesn't it? It's such a wonderfully grounded, almost defiant way to react.
It really is.
But this isn't Anchorage's first time dealing with this level of attention, is it? Not their first rodeo, as they say.
No, definitely not. They have a bit of a history.
Right. The city has seen high-profile diplomacy before. In 2017, China's President Xi Jinping stopped there, famously had king salmon and crab bisque on his way back from meeting Trump in Florida.
I remember that.
And then just 2 years later, it was the venue for that, pretty tense meeting between Chinese diplomats and Biden administration officials.
Yes, where they publicly sort of went at each other over human rights and racism.
Exactly. So they're used to being on the world stage, in a way. But this Trump-Putin summit, it felt different to people there, didn't it?
It absolutely did.
Yeah.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's really the unique proximity of Alaska to Russia that fundamentally changes the local perception of this particular summit.
Ah, okay.
Unlike those previous visits, this isn't just another global event in some random place.
Yeah.
For Alaskans, it resonates with this deep historical and geographical awareness that's just unique to them.
Because Russia isn't some abstract idea.
Exactly. For them, Russia isn't some distant concept or abstract enemy. It's right there.
It's literally the neighbor, a very close neighbor.
Right.
I mean, Russian jets apparently buzz Alaskan airspace sometimes. Their government is said to be undercutting Alaskan fishermen.
Yeah.
There are real-world impacts.
Direct impacts.
And then there's the history, right? Alaska was actually part of the Russian Empire until the U.S. bought it in 1867.
The fact many forget, but Alaskans certainly don't.
No. And that historical tie fuels this kind of satirical but pointed local response. Like Colleen Heaney Mead joking, "Please don't sell us back."
It's funny, but it comes from somewhere real.
Absolutely. You hear it in personal stories, too. Andy Monero, growing up there, remembers Cold War fallout shelters, nuclear drills.
Yeah.
That was his childhood.
Wow. That shapes your perspective.
Definitely. And Hollis French acknowledged Russia as a, quote, hostile neighbor that probes their defenses. Even former VP candidate Sarah Palin, Monero said she might have oversold the short distance in her debate.
Right. I can see Russia from my house line.
Yeah, that one. But he affirmed the underlying awareness of just how close Russia is. It's real.
So it's this incredibly close, almost personal relationship with the idea of Russia at the place. But then there's Putin himself. How do Alaskans, right there on the front lines, kind of separate the people from the government?
That's such a key question.
Yeah, and the nuanced local views on Russia versus Putin are really insightful here. Hollis French, for instance, believes most Alaskans get that Putin isn't the embodiment of the country.
Right.
But they're wary of him, specifically because, as French put it, he certainly got his people cowed.
So a distinction there.
A clear distinction. And Jeff Lanfield takes it further. He points out these long-standing cultural ties, university exchanges, the Old Believers, this sect of the Russian Orthodox Church who fled repression and settled in Alaska ages ago.
Right, those deep roots.
Exactly. Lanfield says it straight. People don't like Putin. It's not Russia or Russians. And adds, I don't think Russia's our enemy.
Interesting. But not everyone feels that way about Putin visiting.
No. Definitely not. Matt Acuna Buxton, a political reporter in Anchorage, he observed a really broad dissatisfaction with Putin actually coming, especially, given his International Criminal Court arrest warrant.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It is. And many view that warrant as a serious indictment of his actions. Acuna Buxton notes many Alaskans understand that Putin and Putin's administration are really not friends of Alaskans.
So here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just about geopolitics from afar. It's about how communities right there on the front lines make that crucial distinction between a people and their government.
Exactly. That's a vital lesson, isn't it? For anyone trying to understand international relations, not just from think tanks, but from, the ground up.
Totally. And it's also about how they cope with it all, right? Because the White House signaled the summit would be held at a military base, Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson, in northeast Anchorage.
Right on base.
Which locals like Colleen Heaney Mead saw as a bit of a letdown. Because, as she said, anything that happens on base isn't like it really happens in Alaska. It's sort of separate.
A bit detached from the community itself.
Yeah. And that feeling of detachment, maybe combined with the high stakes, led Alaskans to cope using their signature humor and satire.
Oh, yes, the humor.
Jeff Lanfield called it a meme-rich environment. And some of the examples are just brilliant. That Alaska landmine poll where 49% suggested Trump and Putin meet at Sarah Palin's house.
Slight chuckle. That's peak Alaskan humor.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And other suggestions from the Alaska Memo blog. Hiking Flat Top Mountain described as the quintessential Anchorage area date night. Or even staying at Skinny Dick's Halfway Inn, which is apparently a real place on the road to Fairbanks.
You can't make this stuff up. But it speaks volumes, doesn't it? About humor as this sort of cultural coping mechanism.
Yeah, how so?
Well, especially when you're confronting scenarios that seem, frankly, beyond your control, maybe even a bit absurd. Matt Acuna Buxton points out that this kind of satire gives Alaskans a way to deal with the, quote, dystopian and, frankly, improbable idea of Trump maybe trading Alaska back to Russia.
Right, that undercurrent was there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while Acuna Buxton acknowledges that, ultimately in the big picture of things, this is about Ukraine, for Alaskans, he says, it's just sort of like a chance to roll our eyes a little bit and make some jokes.
It's a way to take back some control, maybe. Assert their identity.
Precisely. In a situation where they otherwise have very little direct influence. It's resilience through humor.
So what does this all mean for you listening in? I think this deep dive really shows us how a community, even one that seems, geographically removed from the big centers of power, directly experiences and interprets these huge international events through its own incredibly unique lens, history, geography, that distinct local character.
It's a perfect example.
Anchorage becomes this fascinating vantage point where global tensions meet this fierce local identity and, yeah, resilience. Our sources really let us understand not just what happened, but how it felt, how it resonated right down to their summer plans and their jokes.
Absolutely. And it leaves us with this thought to maybe mull over.
Hmm.
How do communities like Anchorage, communities that find themselves right on the geographical or maybe cultural front lines of these big international power dynamics, how do they manage to preserve their distinct identity, their sense of self? What can we learn maybe from their unique approach to balancing the global with the intensely local? Using tools like humor, like that deep historical memory, especially when they're faced with scenarios that feel both incredibly profound and sometimes utterly improbable.